Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Quad Shot Podcast. We are fired up. We are stoked to be here, and we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Ron, how you feeling?
As I take a hit of my quad shot, I'm fucking great, bro.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, bro, doing great. How's just want to say thanks for everyone for tuning in, and I know we've got some followers. A lot of people I've met out here in San Diego have been following the pod, so really blessed. Thank you for supporting and giving us a follow. Like I said, I don't care if you listen to a single minute of our podcast, but I just appreciate the attention in the follow. And I think you should listen to a minute. I think it's very beneficial. We appreciate it. So doing great, man. I hope you're doing well. I know we had an interesting past 2 weeks here, and we'll get into that more of the podcast, but doing really well. Thanks for asking, bro. It's good to see your face. Excited to be back for episode 14.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to hear you. How
are you?
I'm fantastic. We had an off week last week, and that off week was due to personal reasons. And we will discuss those personal reasons as the podcast continues today. And it's a touchy subject, you know. I'm gonna work with you guys here, and it's about me. So Ron T's gonna throw his 2 cents in there, but we're gonna keep the normal structure. We're gonna start with Buzz of the Day, move into our chapter, and then somewhere along the way, when it feels right, I'll throw it in. So.
Yeah, super blessed, man, to be here, and I'm feeling very grateful and blessed this morning to have this platform and be able to do this with you, my man. And I love it, man. I love doing something new and creating this thing. So
yeah, man, I love it, man. I love doing this with you. It's such a beautiful thing that we share really together, and yeah, I appreciate and have so much love for our little community that we have collected so far.
Hell yeah. Okay, so didn't mean to throw us off there, but Buzz of the Day.
No, what are you sipping on? Come on, we always talk about what we're drinking before Buzz. What are you drinking?
Like I said, I got a quad shot Americano right here, boys and girls.
Oh.
So Cafe Verona, 1882, oldest Italian roastery, oldest coffee roastery, from Italy, 1882, out of Torino. Very strong, great coffee, Americano. 4 shots, a little bit of water to water it down, keep it smooth, keep it tight, keep it interesting. So that's what I got, Americano. I'm fired up this morning. I'm excited to go. What are you sipping on?
Is it a bold bean tea?
It hits hard, bro. The veins are pumping, bro. And, shout out to my guys at Quad Shot, bro.
Yep.
I love everyone.
I'm nearing the end here of my Lemon Zero Matina canned beverage. Delicious, served chilled. Okay. I'm going to take the last hit here.
Think about what else you're sipping on as you take this last hit, though.
That was the last hit. Good stuff.
What else you got? Show me what else
here is what I'll be sipping on through the duration of this podcast. It is a straight up loose leaf, nothing, straight business, yerba mate, right to the point. No one's...
Dude, I love that for
No one's hiding from me today. Dude. Come on. Oh. All right. Hey, let's get back in it.
I love that for you, bro.
Buzz of the Day. I got Buzz of the Day this week, and this week it's simple, straight to the point, and it has, it goes hand in hand with the reasoning why we had an off week last week, and it's just if you can connect to it, that's amazing. I don't know if everyone out there as a collective is feeling this type of energy, but I just know that it was quite
2 weeks.
Quite the past 2 weeks. Yeah.
But hey, you're here, you're showing up.
Oh, we're here, baby. Let's go. So Buzz of the Day this week is remember to forgive yourself. And simply just that. Just remember to forgive yourself. And forgiving yourself is really an important part of the healing process of whatever the situation is for you, right? If it's something you have to move through, forgiving yourself is a core part of that, because you have to remember that we make mistakes. We all make mistakes. And those mistakes don't define you, don't define your character. they don't, it's not permanent. It's not Sharpie, right? Um, but
It
you
might
did,
feel like that in the moment, but it's
yeah.
not.
But you did do it, right? Whatever you did that you have to forgive yourself for, you did do it. And forgiving yourself for doing it is very important. And once you forgive yourself, I feel like that allows more space for healing, the other parts of healing, right? Understanding why maybe you did it, staying curious, and that space, that creation of space that forgiving yourself creates, um, it's really gonna just help you move you in the right direction. I feel like. What do you think? Do you think that when you're trying to comprehend a situation and heal from it, do you think you should start from a place of forgiveness for yourself? Do you think that is, you should start there?
I think I don't, I think it's hard in the moment, right? I think we're naturally like we feel guilt, we feel shame. And I think that's going to be the initial reaction to a mistake that we make, right? And I think it's going to be hard to see that forgiveness, but I
Mm,
think you want to end up with that forgiveness and come to a conclusion of, okay, I've done all this, I've processed this, I've maybe hung on to this too long, and now it's time to forgive,
okay.
right? Because
Okay.
the only way to move on is to forgive yourself, forgive those involved, right? Because if you hang on to that bitterness, that shame, that guilt with yourself, then you're going to bring that into other areas and other aspects of your life, right? And there's always room to grow as a human being. We're ever changing creatures. We're ever changing human beings. Like there's always room for growth, and you see people, for example, in prison who've spent 10 years in prison, they come out a new changed man or woman, right? Like we have, and I'm a big believer in, finding the good in everything and everyone. And I think that people fuck up. I think more so some people more than others, but I think that you need to, and you can definitely agree with this, but I think you need to feel from a mistake that guilt, that shame, because then you'll eventually realize that once you process that, the only way out and is to forgive yourself and everyone
Mm,
involved.
yeah. Yeah, and that goes back to our previous episodes, right? So when the guilt and the shame shows up um previous to the mistake, then that's an emotion, right? You're
Yep.
now confronted with emotions of guilt and shame, and those emotions cannot be suppressed or they will be stored. So you have to allow the time to process those emotions. Okay, and I like that. Okay, so yes, start from a place of understanding, right? So if you're starting from a place of understanding, you can go into a place of processing the emotion, and then you end up in a place of forgiveness. I like that. You end up there. It's somewhere where you end up, and then once, now that you've ended up in this place of forgiveness, you can have a lot more clarity on what the situation is trying to teach you, right? Because
Yep.
the people who make the same mistakes over and over and over and over again are never forgiving themselves. They probably do feel some negative emotions towards the act that they're doing, right? But they continuously make it over and over again because they are ignoring those emotions that come along with it, like the guilt and the shame, and they're not forgiving themselves for.
And they're masking or maybe coping with those emotions because they're scary and they don't want to sit with them with other substances, drugs, alcohol, or so on and so forth, or other bad habits. So
Right. Yeah,
that
dude.
also happens.
100%. I mean, I did it in my past, you know what I mean? It's a
Yeah.
very avoiding, it's a great way to avoid your feelings, right?
Yeah. Oh, like this
Suppress,
sucks. Like
avoid.
I'm gonna go get fucked up.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of
Yeah.
people do that. And I think
Very efficient way to do so. And it's a very unhealthy cycle, and it leaves you uh either in the same, similar, or worse place than you were
yeah,
in the beginning. And yeah, I think forgiving yourself is so important. It it softens everything, right? You no longer feel like a terrible person, right? You no longer feel like that mistake defines you. You no longer feel like this is who you are. And now that's tough because you do something and you you made that mistake. That's who you were, right? You did it.
Yeah, that's you. Like, you got to own up to it. You know,
You
that's
have
you.
to take
Yeah.
responsibility and you have to own up to it. But that doesn't mean you have to do it again. That doesn't mean that defines your character, your morals, right? So yeah, I think that this buzz of the day and everything that surrounds it is very prevalent in my life. I don't know if it's prevalent in any of your guys' lives or Ronan yourself, your life, but yeah, just keeping that in mind, remembering to forgive yourself through the mistakes and being gentle, right? Because when you're harsh on yourself, sometimes you need to be hard on yourself. Sometimes you need to be like that drill sergeant in your head and you say, no, that's not how it fucking, that's, you need to get up right now. You need to move. You need, go do this. Let's go. Sometimes you have to be that for yourself. You got to be the hard up, right? But you also have to be kind. You have to be gentle. You have to be soft. You have to be understanding and caring and create space.
That comes back to emotional intelligence, knowing who you are, like knowing what you need in that moment. Like sometimes I'll be like, be perseverating or I'll be kind of down in the dumps and I'll sit on it too long, and I'll be like, dude, get the heck up, go for a run, go work out, like move, take action. And then some days, I'm running around and I haven't had time for myself, or I need some time for myself and be still and kind and gentle and just, come back into myself and give myself some self-love. Like, I think it depends on the experience,
100%.
Like where you're at.
Yeah, and where you're at through the process of healing from that experience. And that's a great point too, because it is really easy to, like you said, sometimes I sit with it for too long, right? It's easy to do that. It's easy to become like stagnant.
And then you don't get anywhere.
Right. Sometimes, my mom actually said this to me recently. There's nothing to fix right now. Sometimes there's nothing to fix. It might feel like there's a million things on your mind that are bothering you and affecting you. But if you take a step back and there's nothing to fix right now, you're going to know how to approach your day a little bit better and feel into like more so like what you need, right? What's that approach that you need? Yeah, I honestly like when like that hard voice has really resonated with me in my life, like
sort of self-starter, like start to kick yourself and be like, hey, let's go, man. Not kick yourself in a bad way, but just like get going,
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely prominent in my life and has helped me through a lot. But tapping into that calmer, more gentle voice, the more understanding, the self-forgiving voice, right? And allowing for that space, and not just trying to like power your way through something, It's actually taking the time to process it, actually taking the time to heal.
Yeah.
And that looks different for everybody. It is hard, right? The way you heal from a mistake that you've made in your life or, something that's affecting you is completely different from the way that I do it, right? And there's going to be some similarities, some common ground, and we can talk about those things and say, hey, dude, try this out. This really helped me. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like what reading this book is. She's trying to create a collective common ground of emotional intelligence and healing and like healing from self-sabotage, and she'll go on and on in the book. We'll get to chapter 5, but she'll go on and on, example after example after example, sometimes trying to connect to somebody, right? Because it could be like 10 different examples. And then one of them you go, oh my God.
Resonates like that was me.
But
There it is.
the
So
other
I
one
appreciate
resonated.
that
Yeah,
she does that.
I do too, because it is really different, the process for everyone, and yeah. But that common ground is self-forgiveness, and I think that buzz of the day, we'll leave it at that. Um, it's a tricky one. It's a tough one, but it's an important one.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
I love that.
Yeah.
There he is. Yep. Get a hit. Attaboy.
It's good.
There
It's
he
good
is.
stuff. Just straight up yerba leaf, man. Nothing
Yerba,
like it.
baby. Yerba.
Yep.
All right. So do we want to get into chapter 5 of The Mountain Is You?
Or
how are you feeling? What are we doing?
Before we get into chapter 5, segueing from the buzz of the day, I just want to take a little bit of time to talk about the past 2 weeks in my life. For whatever reason, I feel it necessary to
bring this to us, the audience.
The audience, to Roan T, to I think it's a part of my healing process. So yeah. So
Platform's yours, brother. I'll sit back and
yeah,
I'll let you get this going. So
yeah, I'm just gonna take the time necessary to carefully conduct
these
and convey this
this message.
Yeah.
Okay.
There might be some cuts and chops.
That's okay. And before you do this, I just want to say to our audience, like, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be honest. There's power in that, you know. And I think it's important. Hopefully this story can connect with someone out there and take someone away from it. You know, we all make mistakes. We're human beings. You know, we're not perfect. Even if you look at somebody, they look like the most perfect, well put together person. Like, they have shit that they've got going on too. And so don't ever be scared to put this out there, because when you do, it might be hard. It might be like, wow, you know, they're going to judge me, but you're going to help someone. You know, you're going to help someone understand, you know, maybe their situation more themselves. And I think in our day and age, people appreciate that. You know, everyone's so caught up with the little things and this and that running around. I think, you know, it's important to be transparent and connect with other people. So
right, and being vulnerable allows the opportunity for others to help you. And we've said it before, and we'll say it again. You can't do this life alone, right? You can't do this life alone. We're all here for each other. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going to take you off here. Before I get started, I just want to let you know I'm going to be a little bit of vague for the sake of privacy, respect, and all that. Yep. So a while back in my life, I don't even really know where to start here. So there are 2 people in my life that I have created a very deep connection with, and I care about them. And you know, ever since I met them both, I have cared for them and done my best to uphold my part of the relationship, whatever that relationship looked at or looked like at that time.
At that time.
Yeah. So I've always tried my very best, right? But things got really, really complicated, intertwined, and so basically I was intimately seeing both of these people at the same time. No commitments, right? And that that's its own thing, right? I think that if I could go back, I would have been more communicative on intentions, I guess. But I didn't even really know what my intentions were. So I think that this is where things started to get mixed up. Okay. And to kind of fast forward, on multiple occasions, I was asked questions, and I was not truthful. Okay? So basically I lied to someone in my life that is a best friend, someone who's very close. And the complexity of that friendship now has grown into a more intimate space, which complicates things even more. So I lied. I was untruthful. And I lied out of fear. I lied out of I think what I was trying to do was protect and preserve. And I was afraid of loss, right? I was gripping on to something so tightly because I was afraid to lose it. And I felt the best course of action at that time was to lie. And of course, now looking back, that is not how I should have gone about the situation. And to kind of sum things up, so that would have been, if the lie had never been uncovered, right? Then it would forever have stayed a lie. And I don't think that I ever would have learned my lesson. Even though doing it at the time felt wrong, morally incorrect. It ate away at me, right? Because I'm not a liar. I'm truthful, authentic, genuine, caring, kind, communicative, right? I'm all these things. And, you know, both of these people know that about me, and I know that about them, right? But I had a lapse of judgment on multiple occasions because one led to another, right? Now it's like a cover up almost. So if that lie had never been uncovered, then it would have stayed that forever. And I wouldn't have been able to understand the velocity of it, and I wouldn't have been able to work through it the way that I have been. It needed to happen. As shitty as it fucking was, as many times as I told myself, you know, like, I can't believe this, whatever. Basically, I felt like a fucking terrible person, a monster, someone who lies to people that they deeply care about, because that's what I did. Plain and simple, right? But working through that, understanding why I did what I did, and actually I did it out of love, but I did it out of fear, and I did it to protect and preserve because I was holding on to it too tightly. When now looking back, if I was honest, upfront, communicative, both of the people, I feel like would have expected that from me because that's who I am and that's who I've always been. But it was like a lapse of judgment, right? So it was almost like this moral dilemma where I was left with like feeling like asking myself, is this who I am? How could I do this? You know what I mean? And it was really hard. Yeah, I mean, so it was hard, but now I have to find ways to come back from this. I have to find ways to heal from this. And this isn't the first mistake I've made in my life, right? This isn't the first time I've felt these feelings in my body. This isn't the first time I've had these thoughts running through my head. So, you know, we all do these things. So I've collected coping mechanisms and understandings as to how to move through this over the years. So I started thinking of the ways to help myself. So I started talking about it with people I care about and I know I trust, and I appreciate their perspectives. And that was really helpful, right? Really eye-opening. Okay. Because I was open, I was vulnerable and honest, and I received caring energy when I needed it, right? Someone else
And that
held the
takes a lot of
space.
guts. That takes a lot of guts too to like be transparent on a situation that's you're ashamed about and two
Right.
people you love because you're
Yeah.
also worried about their judgment. What are they going to think, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that takes courage as well. So go
Yeah.
ahead.
But it's a necessary part of
Yeah, that
of that
feeling.
process, right? Because you got to first of all own it. Okay, take responsibility, right? And I owned it. I took responsibility, and now I'm receiving different perspectives on, hey, this is what helps me. I talked, with my mom, and she's like, hey, remember when this helped you in this previous situation? And she was like, this is where I've been. She talked about her experiences, her mistakes, and it was really, really helpful. And it was a good reminder that we are fucking human. We do things that make us feel shameful. We do things that we make mistakes. It's okay. It's okay. So that's kind of where I started, right? And now I'm implementing different ways of healing, okay? Sometimes it's not even thinking about anything. I'm just trying to clear the mind, okay? So I began. I thought a good place to begin with a gentle reminder from my mom actually was, why don't you write letters to these people? And you don't have to send them. You don't have to, uh, you know, make it known. Whatever. So you can burn them. You can do whatever. So I did that, and that was helpful, right? And it's not me trying to explain myself. It's not me trying to regain some sort of
image back.
right. It's simply just basically in those letters, to sum it up. Each one was very different from the other, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was an apology. It was me taking accountability, and it was me expressing my appreciation for them, and
Okay.
just reminding them, reminding myself, I guess, why I care about them so much. So it was interesting, right? And that helped me really, really process everything. And then, yeah, just then I came into a place where I didn't want to talk about it with anyone. I didn't want to, like, I felt feelings of like self isolation. You know what I mean?
I remember I was like,
So-
hey, what's going on? You all right? And you were like, dude, I don't want to talk about
Don't
this.
want to talk about it. Yeah.
I go, all right.
And it was weird, right? Because in my body, I knew I needed to process it alone now, but it was
Sure.
almost like feelings of like frustration came up. Like you checked on me, and I'm like, like,
Yeah,
you
you got
know?
angry. I was like, what the
yeah.
It's all
I don't want
part
to
of
fucking talk about
healing.
it. Yeah. So it was interesting. I had to move through that, right? But coming back to the buzz of the day, and it's funny that I even had to ask you that question about self-forgiveness. Where does it come, first or last? Because I'm there now. I didn't start there.
Yeah.
Definitely did not start there. I couldn't have started there. It just wouldn't have worked.
It was too big of a situation. It was too much of an impact on you to even your brain to rationally like just forgive yourself. Like you're a morally good person. So when something that's out of character or something that you do in terms of lying, like, I mean, I've been there, I've lied before and I feel like shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like one of those things you have to work through and process, and you did the necessary steps, the healthy steps, to forgive yourself and people involved in the situation. And it doesn't mean that you're going to change these people's outlook on yourself, but you're going to change the way that you carry it and learn from it. Right.
Yeah.
And I know knowing yourself and knowing what you did to put in the work for this, that you're going to be better off because you're going to have a deeper understanding of who you are, what you and who you don't want to be going forward,
and who I
the
want to
changes
be.
that you
Right.
and who you want to be, yeah,
And
and
who
the
I
changes you're going to
am.
make,
Right.
who you are.
Yeah.
100%.
And that's a great point. That is a great point. You can't always control someone else. Ever. Can't ever control someone else. Ever. You're not going to be able to curate some perspective they have of you now. They're going to move through it the way that they're going to. And
they're supposed to move through it. Yep.
exactly. And they might not. They might just shame and hate you forever. But you can't let that affect you. The only thing that you can do is come back to yourself and forgive yourself.
And try to be a better person for it. It's like,
and heal.
What are you going to do? You're going to shell up and just be all depressed? No, I mean, people make mistakes. We're human beings. And I know that they know that deep down. They're probably processing it in a different way right now, or I have no idea what they're doing. So,
right.
But all you can do is control how you're handling the situation. You're handling it with maturity. You're handling it with, positive, good self-coping skills. And you're doing taking the necessary steps to forgive yourself. So you should be proud of yourself for that. Yeah. You're doing the right thing. I bet 5 years ago you would have handled it in a completely different way.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And it's weird how things from the past, right, get resurfaced. And they get resurfaced for a reason, right? This is now an opportunity to grow. This has been a major growth opportunity for me, and I am fully equipped with the support system, kind, loving friends and family, and coping mechanisms within myself and emotional intelligence to deal with this situation. But yeah, it was really, really hard, and we all make mistakes. But we have to make sure that we're checking ourselves and we're doing the necessary steps to use it as an opportunity to grow and heal from it properly, and let go. You have to let go. And that brings us into chapter 5, because chapter 5, The Mountain Is You, is all about letting go. It's all about letting go. And you know what's so funny, man? As I'm going through this, I'm reading this chapter. And it doesn't matter that this was something that had happened a while back and it's resurfacing now. The chapter is now. And the opportunity is now. And it's exactly what I needed in that moment. And I just think that me and you right now are tapping into this collective energy. And I really hope that me being vulnerable and open with such a deep part of my life helped someone out there. That was the whole purpose of me sharing it on this podcast. I really, really hope that someone can take something away from that. So let's get into chapter 5. Letting go.
Letting go. And that's what you're doing right now. So anything else before we move on to the chapter that you haven't covered about the situation, or how you're feeling now, how you're healing, other than the letters, or did you pretty much touch on everything you wanted to get to?
I touched on everything I wanted to touch on, and I have now landed in a place of love for them and love for myself. And that's it. Just love.
Are you going to send them the letters?
I don't know.
Depends.
Those letters are being sent out to the ocean for sure. The hard copy paper letters, they're getting sent out to the ocean. Biodegradable. It's not lettering. Let's get into chapter 5, baby. Come on. Rome T.
Yeah, releasing the past. This is a good chapter, a great chapter. I wrote some things down that I would like to cover today and start off with.
Okay.
So one quick little thing, I know it's not really pertinent to letting go, but there was something in here that I loved and it resonated with me. And I think I've always wanted to live my life by this motto, and I always have, which I'm proud of myself for. And I'm going to continue to live my life this way, 'cause that's who I am. But you treat strangers the way you would your CEO. And I think that's what life's about. I think, like, think about someone that's trying to climb the corporate ladder and sucking up and be like, oh, I want this raise, I want this promotion for their own, their own gain, right? And like being like, oh, CEO, like, how are you? Like, always prepared, always on it, always respectful,
Mm.
always punctual. I think that's the key in life, is to do that for someone that you don't even know. There's no, you don't gain anything from talking to them. I think just being respectful, being kind, being friendly, being warm to a stranger walking down the street is just as important as doing that to your CEO.
That's funny that you connected to that so much, because when I read that or listened to it, I didn't really know what she meant by that. Because I guess I just assumed that most people have like a sour taste in their mouth when they think about their CEO or something because they're under them, right? But you brought
Yeah,
the
no,
perspective of like the way that they do treat him like face to face is
that's your
very
CEO. Like
yeah.
they're making what? They're making a ton of money. They're where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally, the human us, we're gonna want to get in their good graces, right?
Yeah.
And be like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, and get that promotion, get that job, maintain, that relationship. But I think, think of your conversation with their CEO being on time and punctual and respectful and listening. I think in everyday life, I think anyone you come across, I think that's important to have.
I love that.
Because people remember those things. And maybe down the road you see that person out again, and it's all connected. Everyone, it's such a small world. You've got to treat everyone with respect, unless obviously you're disrespected, you have to handle it. But
Right. Yeah, of course.
you should go into everything with open arms, warm, and embrace everyone the way you would like to be embraced, with respect and kindness. And that really resonated with me. So I love that. But according to, actually the chapter title, Releasing the Past, another thing that resonated with me, and I think this is pertinent in a lot of relationships, I see a lot of this. There's nothing that you can do to win someone or something that is not meant to be yours. So I see a lot of the time where you've broken up with someone, or I've heard about people trying to get their girl back or something like that. I'm like, if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be.
Right. Or even somebody, like two people that are together, right? They're currently together, but there's friction. There's like you have thoughts of like not wanting to be with them or whatever, right? It's trying to force something into something that it just never will be.
And I've tried to do that before, actually, with my previous
me too,
season.
man.
And that's where I've gotten hurt the most with my previous relationships, bro. When I've tried to fix something and force them in, and something that I had this image of, this is so great, this person's so great, they're on a pedestal, and just in my own image, because I wanted that, and I wanted, but it just wasn't the right person. And when you try to force that and fix that, they get hurt, you get hurt. It's just a recipe for disaster. So
100%.
I've learned my lesson in that way. And you got to be okay with letting go. Like, just in any relationship, you got to be okay and accepting that, hey, this might not be a forever thing, but accept that and be okay with losing that person. Be okay with gaining that person.
Accepting that,
and that's life.
They played the role that they were supposed to in your life.
At that given
and you
time,
played
right?
the role that you were supposed to in their life, and appreciating all the good that came along with it, and
all the lessons learned, right?
All the lessons
learned.
Even
though shitty in the moment, real shitty in the moment, but it just, you look back after a few months, you're like, oh, wow, I'm really glad this happened. So I learned this.
That's how you learn to be with somebody else.
Yeah.
That's how you learn to be with somebody else. The way you learn to be with somebody else is by being with someone, right? And it takes it's a trial and error process because relationships take hard work. They're not easy. They take commitment. They take sacrifice. And I have come to the realization that because I've always been in long-term relationships in my life, but I've come to the realization that if you're going to put yourself in a position of a long-term commitment, you got to be ready for it. Or at least, because in the past when I got into these relationships with these people, I was ready for it, right? I wanted it. That is what I wanted, and I did it. Now, obviously, I'm not with these people anymore, but like I said, it's that trial and error process. Everything that I learned from those relationships, learned about them, learned about myself, how to be with somebody else, all these lessons and little things, and right, they accumulate and they compound. And now when you're presented with your person, you are fully equipped and ready to
handle everything,
be there with them, right?
I love that, dude,
and that's a beautiful thing.
I'm looking at my notes on my phone because I took some notes on this chapter, and that's what I'm looking at. But it just reminds me of like previous like comments I've said in a relationship that have created like riffs or something that I said that was stupid. I wrote those down and said, hey, I told myself to be in a healthy relationship, you can't say these things. And like I've learned so much through just like my short-term relationships with these women. And so it's just like a reminder for myself, just like a learning and forgiving myself so I can forgive and heal that side of me, and then remember as well to not take that and carry that over into my next relationship. So
right. I bet if you like read those words out loud to me, it's like, oh, but being like intimate with someone and like that type of relationship, those words probably, they don't really work out too well when you say them, but you had to say them to find out, right? Right. So dude, it's tough, right? Because we all think back to our first love, and you know what I mean? Like,
I don't even know if I've had that, dude. You have.
Shout out my sister. She's just
Mia?
Shout out my sister. She just went through a relationship, and she had her first love, and they broke up, right? And me as her older brother, I can see it and be like, it's so shitty to say, man, but it's like, I know like it's not gonna last, but she needs this. She needs to feel this love. She needs to know what it's like to be with somebody else. She needs to go through all these feelings of codependency and all this shit, and then it needs to just fucking go away. And then you need to heal from that. And you got to keep doing that. So, I think that's important. I think it's really good. And obviously,
you probably saw it from the start. You're like, yeah, this probably isn't going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to be like, because, there's people out there that are high school sweethearts, but it's
very rare in our day and age. I will say that it's becoming more increasingly rare. And if you see it, I'm like, hey, hats off to you.
That's a Roan T, right? Nope. Okay. So we're back.
Hummer.
I'm going to read something from this chapter that I really, really
took away.
Liked. The loss was part of the plan. Right? And everything you lose becomes something you are profoundly grateful for in some way.
Yeah. The growth mindset is you take the positive, take a lesson out of everything, man. Every interaction.
Nothing is forever. Okay? I'm going to die. You're going to die. Everyone dies.
I might be immortal. You never know, bro.
Roan T. But you know what I mean? Like,
nothing's forever, right? Nothing's
forever.
Eternal.
So loss is a part of life. Loss is always a part of life. A loss of whatever.
I believe some things are eternal, but yeah.
Yeah. But
physical.
Loss is a
we're
part
not
of life.
forever.
Loss is
Yeah,
a part
go
of
ahead.
life. Period. Okay. So the love that you have for somebody, the love that you share for somebody, if you believe it to be eternal, that's amazing. Like, I don't know, that could go into like all sorts of stuff. What's after death and all that stuff. But
Holy shit. Yeah, dude, that could be a good
right? But
episode we touch
loss.
on, you know.
Loss is a part of life and it's something that's really hard to deal with. But when you
You
look
have
at
to
it,
deal with
when you look at it as part of the plan, or when you look at it afterwards, and it is some, say like my great grandmother, all these memories I have of my great grandmother, which aren't a lot, right? Because I was young, but photos and small little blips and memories I have, you know, like running into the kitchen, she's making something, you know, just classic Italian, great grandma hitting you with the wooden spoon, whatever, you know, beautiful, beautiful memories of that, right? And that's not something that lasts forever. That's temporary, right? And it's a loss, right? And now you think about the time that my grandmother and my grandfather shared with her. Now I think about the time that, you know, my dad and his brother shared with her. Okay. So all those experiences, right? For them, the profound, but it's a loss, right? But at the end of the day, you can turn it to something that you are profoundly grateful for in some way, right? How can you not be grateful for those memories? It's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you turn loss into hurt and pain and suffering and let it be that, that's all it's ever going to be. But if you turn it into, it was part of the plan and I'm grateful, it becomes something completely different.
I'm grateful that I had those memories with that person. I'm grateful that they taught me this or that, and I will always remember that. And that's the mindset, you know.
Yeah.
That's the healthy mindset. But I will say this, though, it is really hard, you know. A lot of people go through very traumatic losses in life, whether that's a person or other things. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's kind of...
It's hard to see that as part of the plan, right? Especially a sudden tragic loss. It's hard to say that was part of the plan. It's hard to see that and say that, but it is, right? And, you know, looking back on this situation that I'm working through now, it's part of the plan. All that loss, it's part of the plan. I trust in that. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm grateful for it.
Good.
So
I love that. Even this soon on to even after, like, to have that perspective is awesome.
So yeah, and that gets to the point of we store unfinished and unresolved emotional experiences within our bodies, right? Because, and we've said this before in past episodes, if we're not processing those emotions, we're going to store it in our bodies, and that's going to create physical reactions, mental reactions, and that's going to start to leak into our lives. And we're not going to be and we're not going to be in a place to pursue our goals to the fullest extent if we don't process these emotions. What else did you really like from this chapter? This was a really good chapter.
Great chapter. Towards the end of the chapter, I actually wrote it down, page 170 to 173. If you're following, if everyone's following along, chapter 5. A few things here I'll touch on. The real glow up isn't proving the people from your past wrong. It is finally feeling so content and hopeful about your future that you stop thinking about them entirely.
You're doing it for yourself. You're not doing it for them, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Prioritizing
and it's like,
your... Go ahead.
Sorry. Before you read the next one, people like, I'm sure you felt these feelings. I've felt these feelings, and I still do to this day, but I catch myself now. It's when you're doing something like, oh man, I'm gonna do this shit just so you feel that pain of seeing me do it. I'm gonna do this shit so you know I'm capable and you see me fucking do it, right? That is like that. It's fuel. Haters are fuel, whatever. Like but is it the right kind of fuel? It's that short spark fucking fire, you know? It's not a sustainable fuel. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. That shit doesn't last.
Oh, you know what? I will say this. I think some people can sustain that. I think I've seen cases where like and heard about it. I think it's hard. Everyone's different, right? We're all different, wired different. We all have different DNA. But I do finally, I do believe that to find your full, your inner peace, right, and feel good about what you want to accomplish and do. I think that might be good for a short term, feeling of like, yeah, man, I proved that person wrong. But don't you want to prove yourself right? Don't you want to
Yeah.
like be the,
Yeah, that's fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
Would you rather prove somebody wrong or prove yourself right? Because that's two perspectives with the
because
same
you're gonna feel
outcome.
proud of yourself. If you want to feel proud of like eternally proud of yourself, right? And like that doesn't happen through always being like, yeah, what's my next challenge, just so I can prove that guy wrong. Because that's great. It's probably you're gonna accomplish something, get physically more fit from a challenge or mentally stronger or do something. But is it sustainable?
Mm.
I don't know. TBD. But I personally don't think so. I think that it comes back to self at the end of the day and who you want to be. So
Yeah,
that's my
I love
take.
that. What was next? You were reading something.
Prioritizing your heart over someone else's eyes. You are still orbiting around the opinions of people who didn't love you and didn't have any intention to.
Same thing, right?
Yep.
Same thing. Same thing. And yeah, that's just a different way of saying it. And it's so true.
So that's
man.
what I took away. Great chapter. And then one more thing, I'll leave it on this and my take. Disclosure is for you.
Mm.
And I think
Always.
that's important to the conversation, what you brought up, your personal life, what you've been going through the past 2 weeks. And I think in general, I think you want to close, yeah. I think like, for example, when you did that Spartan race, that was for you.
Oh, 100%.
I'm proving to myself that I can do this. And I've like, that was all for you. I know that wasn't out of proving people wrong. That was proving yourself like right, that I'm on the right, like I'm doing this shit. Like you would have never done that 5 years ago.
No, I wouldn't have.
Hell no.
And dude, it felt so correct. And when I showed up to the event and I prepared for it as much as I could prior.
Yep.
And I showed up to the event and I had looked up like the average time. And I said, okay, I'm going to do it in this time. I hadn't walked through, I didn't know what I was about to face, right? I didn't know what it was going to look like. I just knew that every step of the way, I'm not going to take any shortcuts and I'm going to push myself until the very end. So I said, I'm going to complete it in this time. This is the time I'm going to complete it in. And because
Did you do it in like, you set your
I beat
goal,
myself.
right?
I set my goal and I beat it by 2 minutes. But
Fuck yeah. That must have been like such a killer feeling, bro.
Dude, I had my Apple Watch on and I was like at the last obstacle, fucking exhausted. And I looked down and I saw the time and I'm like, just fucking go. And the last one was like 20 burpees, but I'm just burnt. Absolutely just cooked. And each one is fucking like just pain. You know what I mean?
You just felt like it was
because it was with like a
forever,
weight too. So you're going up and down.
Yeah.
And just like, that was tough. But pushing yourself to the very end. Yeah. And that was for me. That was all for me. And it was a great thing. But
all right. So do you have anything else for this chapter? Because I have something to say.
Stop meditating to feel calm. Meditate to feel.
Dude, I wrote that down too.
Yeah. I loved how she said that. I loved how she said that.
Like, oh, I'm gonna go meditate. I'm gonna go do this to feel better. You might not feel better, but you will if you like eventually. You have to sit with yourself and process those emotions. That's why people never feel content.
Yeah. And that's perfect. That's perfect because at the end of the chapter, she talked about letting go, releasing, and then she said, stop meditating to feel calm, meditate to feel. And then she went into ways to actually do these things. And I want to talk about this because this is really important. This is how she recommends you do this. Try breath scans. Guiding your breath through your body slowly and slowing down on the places that need most attention. Notice where you're storing this tension and stay there and allow yourself to feel what might be there in that area and then follow that. Because when you find that tension, when you find that area that needs the most attention, there's something being stored there, and that is from the past, and it's some emotion, and you're going to follow it, and you're going to come to the conclusion, and you're going to face these things that you once put to the side. Now they're
100%, bro.
just like what's happening with me now. It happened in the past, and now it's resurfacing, you know? And it's so important. So the body scan is a really good way to do that, right? And using your breath to find areas of stored emotions, and then sitting there and sitting with it and following that path, right? Following that emotion and letting it take you wherever it leads you. Okay. And then she also said, use a journal to write down what you experience and see through the process of following that emotion. Okay. And she's saying some other good ways is sweat, move, cry. We always say this: physical exercise, moving your body. It's going to help work these things through you. We always say this, man, because it's important, and you got to do it. You got to move. You got to sweat.
Yeah, and in our previous episode, I talked about the most peaceful, most calm I am is after a physically hard workout where I'm sweating and I get in my truck to drive home. Like, I just feel so content, calm. Everything I've worked out of my body that's uncomfortable, I've worked it out of me.
It's a release.
You know, it's a release, dude. And you have to have that in your life. Every human being, maybe it's not working out. Like, for a lot of people it is, but you have to have an outlet because life's hard, right? Life is not easy. It is very challenging. My grandmother always used to tell my brother and I this, like, tough. What are you gonna do? Tough. And she was like one of the most strongest women I've ever met, other than my mom, who pretty much obviously cut from the same cloth, because she had a lot of health issues. She grew up in the projects in Rosendale in Mass, had started having kids when, 5 kids, or 3 biological, 2 adopted, but both my uncles are adopted, but yeah, when she was like 21, and she had a lot of health issues, like didn't grow up great at all, but she always had the outlook of like that, tough, like life's hard, but like just super positive. So and my grandparents helped raise me and my brother, so that stuck with me, and I think that definitely ingrained into my brother and I's mind and like helped me where I'm at today. So shout out Nana.
Shout out Chubbs. Shout out Nana.
Yep, Chubbs is still kicking. He's 81 now.
Shout out Chubbs. Shout out Nana.
He's a fucking legend. And I bet you feel the same way, about your grandparents, and
oh, of course, man.
That's our motto, guys. Go for the brass ring, and that's from actually Aidan's grandfather Nono, who came up with that. Correct?
Yeah, he always used to say it. He's got 9 grandchildren. He always said it to us growing up. Go for the brass ring. And
did he say that to Gabe or no?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Come on, bro.
I know you're cooking them.
Shout out my guy G.
All right. Shout out G.
Right?
Oh God, right. Yeah. Shout out G. And Nala, right?
There, all right, bro. This is a great episode.
Healing. I just want to say this: healing is not a lovely ascension into comfort and wellness. Healing yourself is uncomfortable and disruptive, but it is so important.
Yeah, I guarantee the last 2 weeks for you have been probably for you, probably the most challenging 2 weeks you've had in a long time. Is that an
long time, man? And you know what?
Is that an accurate assessment?
Yes, it is an accurate assessment. And finding the space for myself, right? Because I noticed my routine started to dwindle a bit.
Yeah, talk about this. Talk about.
But listen, honest. Man, listen. Because of who I am now and all of my experiences and my emotional intelligence, it's what I needed at this time through these past 2 weeks isn't my normal structure and routine. I needed something more free flowing. I needed to act more off of what I needed now. I'm not acting from emotions and feeling, right? I'm not. And there's a little bit of guilt and a little bit of shame for not upholding my normal structure and routine, but just reminding myself that structure, that routine isn't what I needed to heal from this. It's not what I needed in that moment. I needed something different, right? Because this is a situation that requires different. It requires a different approach, right? And my normal structure, my normal routine isn't gonna
allow for that.
It's not gonna allow for it. So I fell out of it, right? And that's why I said to Ronan, I said, I'm not podcasting this week. I wasn't in the space to do it, and I needed that time. But it's okay. It's okay. You have to do what you need for yourself. Just make sure you're doing it intentionally, right? And yeah, to go back to what we said earlier, like, it's easy to like sit in that too long. It's easy to let it stew and not do anything and just feel those, you know? But yeah. This has been an amazing episode. Buzz of the day, forgive yourself, all right? Remember that. Remember to forgive yourself.
Keeps getting better, man. Each episode, we're on it.
Chapter 5 was beautiful, and for me, it couldn't have been better timing. Just absolutely beautiful. And the loss I'm experiencing has created space for new beginnings. And I just love it. It's such a beautiful, life is so beautiful. Remember to be gentle with yourself and kind, right? But you got to kick yourself in the ass when you need it. So there's a balance, folks. There's a fucking balance. What an amazing episode, Ronan. I appreciate you very much. Thank you for showing up today and sharing your thoughts and your opinions. And yeah, as always, brother, respect.
Go for the brass ring, my man.
Roan T.
Come on.
That is going to conclude today's episode. We're going to get things all wrapped up here. As always, so much love and appreciation for you guys. I know things got deep. I know things got vulnerable. I hope somebody took something away from that. I really do. That was hard for me to do. I want to let you guys know that I had to think about doing that for a while before doing it. And I landed on the fact that I wanted to share it with you guys in hopes that someone would take something away from it. So I really do hope that. And yeah, so much love for our little community. We appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. We'll be back next week. I'm going to Florida, so I might have a little bit of tan. I'm going to see JMO, our executive producer of Quad Shop Podcast. Shout out JMO.
Shout out JMO, man. He holds this thing together. He holds it down. Shout out my guy JMO.
Yes,
Keep that flow flowing. Yeah, great episode. I don't know, man. I'm kind of speechless here. I mean, that was fucking amazing. I think we covered everything, and I think hopefully, I know we learned a lot, that we're continuing to grow and evolve as human beings, and I hope everyone out there is doing the same. So that's our motto. That's our go for the brass ring as always, guys.
Yep.
And yeah, check out our leave a comment. Check out our Instagram at Quad Shop Podcast, and then check out our website at quadshoppodcast.net.
Yep, that'll provide you with all the links necessary to all our content. And there's also a section, contact us. So we want you guys to give us constructive criticism. If there's something you want us to touch on, put it there. If you want us to, shout you out with that topic, we will just preface that. So yeah, we're going to wrap things up today. Episode 14, beautiful episode. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and I will see you back here a little bit tanner next time. And Roan T is going to be showing up San Diego style, so much love.
Go for that brass ring, guys. Come on.
Quad Shop Podcast, baby. We're out.
Over now.